do what you can with what you have. And if you set that as like, this is what I will do, then that is foundational to being able to exercise and train when you're short on time and you still want to make progress. You have to change. Often you have to change your definition of what success is, especially if you're kind of a hard charger, maybe you're a little type A. You have to change what success looks like for you based on what your schedule looks like. Because I think that's where people start to get really frustrated, and then they throw in the towel and they say, well, I don't have time to do everything, so it's not worth it to do anything.
I was like, well, if I throw a mic on, then I can help others the way that these people have all helped me.
Born in the heart of the Pennsylvania deer camp, with the help of experts, friends, and local legends, we bring you valuable knowledge and powerful stories for your hunting adventures. Welcome to the East Meets West Hunt Podcast with your host, Beau Martonik.
Well, Todd Bumgardner, welcome back to the podcast. Ooh, there we go. Nice Waterloo sparkling water.
Waterloo. I used to live in Waterloo, New York.
Is that where this is from?
Probably not, but I used to live there.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's Austin, Texas. Yeah, that's misleading.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
It is, Beau. It's disappointing.
Yeah. So Todd and I had just finished up a nice hike, and we did a podcast
While we were hiking,
which was a first, and I'm pretty excited how that turned out.
It was a great idea. It was your idea. I liked it.
That's why it was good.
Wow. But yeah, no, it was enjoyable. It felt fun. It was just like walking through the woods with your buddy talking. So it was good. I think people will like it.
No, I'll be interested. And if anyone's listening to this one that watched that and they haven't gave me feedback already, but if you don't like it, tell me too, and we won't do any more of them. But it was fun.
You can't bend that easy. You know what I mean? Just because like one person doesn't like it.
Well, not one, but if the majority of people are like, you know what, that is not what you should be doing, then maybe I should listen.
I really don't think that's what you're going to hear. When do we do these chords?
Well, we did one up in Quebec when we were moose hunting on the island that we were like calling/glassing from. Mm-hmm. We just did one there, just sitting there kind of whispering, talking.
That's awesome.
It was fun. Yeah. I like doing some of that stuff in the middle of
something new,
yeah,
a little something different.
Yeah, we're always sitting here talking at a table or whatever, but
yeah, I think it was a great idea. I think people are gonna like it.
Yeah, but going back to the Waterloo here, the sparkling water.
Oh, go on.
So
I'd love to talk about it.
I love sparkling water because like just drinking water all day is kind of boring.
Yeah,
but I feel like this is like a good
little something extra,
flavor. But it's not a unhealthy option.
No, yeah. What would be an unhealthy option?
If I were to just be slamming Pepsis here,
it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's probably okay with diet, but
you think?
Yeah, not the full fat, as my buddy Brett calls it. Full fat Pepsi.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So I've had this argument before with my girlfriend who says like the Coke Zeros are fine. It's like no calories.
Yeah, they're fine.
Really?
There's nothing bad. Diet soda is not bad for you. That's crap.
Really?
Yeah. There's actually been some research that shows that artificial sweeteners are good for your gut health.
Maybe I need to do that. My gut health is a little bit messed up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get some fiber, get a little Coke Zero in you, you'd be golden.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah, it's not bad for you. This whole thing about like artificial sweeteners are terrible for you. It's not true. There's zero human randomized controlled trials that say that it's bad for you.
Why should I believe you? Because of that? There's no trial.
Yeah, because there's no research that says that it's bad for you. I think is why you should believe me.
All right. Let's
look at if you want. Like, so one of the things I share it on the Pack Mule. I share his stuff on the Pack Mule Instagram often. Is Dr. Elaine Norton. Mm-hmm. So if you want really good nutrition information that's no BS, that he's a really good source for it. So, and he has like Carbon Diet Coach is his app, and it's good stuff. So if you want solid information, he's a good guy to go to.
Dr. Lane Norton.
Dr. Lane Norton, or you can follow. I have a really good friend, Dr. Mike Roussel. Both of those guys are like, you want good nutrition stuff, they're the guys to go to.
Yeah, well, maybe I should do that. Other than I just always thought that the whole diet aspect was just kind of bullshit.
No, we got pounded with that, right? That the artificial sweeteners, like, they affect your insulin, they do all this kind of stuff, and it's just not true. It's just not true. Yep.
So yeah, because we went out to lunch after we went on that hike, and I saw you get a Diet Pepsi, and I was like, man, I haven't had regular Pepsi in a while, so I just got a Pepsi thinking we're drinking the same thing, but apparently you're doing something good, and I was
drinking your calories isn't the best way to do it.
Yeah,
but, and there's nothing. It's like it's just as hydrating as water. No, I'm not gonna say don't drink water. People should drink water, but like I think one of the podcasts we did, I relayed the information that so is coffee.
Yeah. You talked about that with caffeine, which was. I didn't.
So we know that
at
like
the time.
We know that diet soda and coffee and stuff are just as hydrating as water. I don't think that's true of things like energy drinks and stuff like that, because I think the caffeine load is too high, and they don't have like the other compounds in them that help you actually retain the water. But yeah. So I think it's also that people like slug that stuff, and if you drink fast, you dump it fast. So that's one of the reasons that they say, sip throughout the day, don't chug your water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're chugging water, then you're just gonna essentially piss it out.
You'll
pretty
dump
quickly.
it. You'll lose it a lot fast. Like that's one of the things. Like I know people tell you not to drink late at night, but the rate at which you drink later in the evening, that also influences like if you'll have to get up and go to the bathroom. So if you chug water late at night, you probably have to get up and go to the bathroom. But if you have some water late at night and you just kind of sip it or drink it normally, then it's not as big of a deal.
Okay. Yeah. Because I don't ever really have to get up to go to the bathroom, and I drink water all the way through the time I go to bed.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Because it disrupts a lot of sleep for people.
Yeah. I would say, like, do you have problems sleeping at all?
I've always had problems sleeping.
Really?
My entire life. Until like, honestly, I have wicked ADHD that didn't get diagnosed until, it's not a technical diagnosis, but I didn't really realize that I had it until I was honestly in my late 30s. And so sleep disruption and trouble sleeping is a big thing for ADHD. But since I got on like taking medication and have more stimulants and stuff throughout the day, I can actually sleep now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd never really had a problem with sleeping, except for like I've learned different things that will affect my sleep so I don't get quality sleep.
Sure.
Eating before bed,
a big one.
That's a big one. Having any alcohol close to time going to bed, that crushes it. I've learned that having one drink, I can because my Garmin watch tells me that like it's automatic bad sleep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
and I'm obsessed with, and love it or hate it, like I'm obsessed with my sleep score.
Well,
and looking at my watch,
like having something like that, like one of the things that I mean, they're expensive. They're not as expensive as some of the Garmin watches, but I used to have an Oura ring that I wore for a while, and we have clients at my gym that get them, and you see. It's a really great tool for behavior change because people see the actual effects of the things that they do. And so it's good for a while. So I saw this, I don't know what you want to call it, but like a meme or post or something on Instagram not long ago. And the guy was like the progression of how it should be with like watches or rings or something. It's like you don't wear one, then you wear one, and then you wear one for a while, and then you don't need to wear it anymore, So because you ingrain the habits that you learn from getting the feedback and the data.
Yeah. And another thing that I've noticed with sleep is the timing too. Like when I go to bed, like last night I was just doing a bunch of stuff, getting stuff done. It's been a busy week, so I was up till after midnight,
Sure.
And whenever I do that, even if I were to get like 6+ hours of sleep, it still affects the quality of
Absolutely.
It and the REM cycle of when you're able to sleep.
As much as you can get before midnight is a good thing. Yeah. You'll get through more sleep cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you good at going to bed early?
I do. I go to bed early. Yeah. Probably in the winter, like sometimes I'll lay down and start reading at like 8:30. I don't care.
Wow.
I got stuff to do, man. I don't got to worry. One of my superpowers, Beau, I don't get FOMO. I do what I want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Papa wants to go to bed at 8:30. He goes to bed at 8:30.
I like how you're saying too, you're like diagnosed at, late 30s and you're like still in your late 30s. So it was like,
I got
recently.
3 months left in my late 30s. But seriously, I didn't find out until I was like 38 until last year. Yeah.
But I that is something that I would like to figure out how to work on, which is really just going to bed. But like,
no, there's having sleep hygiene's a thing, right? There are different things that you can do. One of the things is like turn overhead lights off, start turning those off, and just have lower level lamps on to start like just decreasing the amount of light and making it softer. Have warmer lights in the evening instead of cooler lights. Make sure your bedroom's cool, like somewhere around 68 degrees. Anywhere between 68 and 72 is good, but like sleeping cold's better than sleeping warm. Get in a shower before you go to bed, so you have like reactive cooling. Mm-hmm. Those things all help. And then, the thing that we all get hammered on and we all know is like get away from your screens, you know, because that messes with your brain. So stuff to sleep.
Where I feel like when I'm, especially days that I'm super busy and I'm working all day and I'm like talking to people and do things, and this didn't happen my whole life, but in the last few years, especially during the wintertime, I enjoy just turning the TV on and watching Netflix and
just chilling out,
watching an episode of a show. But that's also my detriment, because say I sit down and do that at 9 o'clock and I'm like, 9:30, like one episode, 45 minutes. I'll put me to bed 10:30 or so.
Yeah.
Well, then
you get into it.
They hook you, and then I got one more added on.
That's the issue.
Next thing you know, it's 11:30, and then I have to brush my teeth and let the dogs out, and you get everything. And it's midnight before you're going to bed, and I'm like, that's and I don't have a TV in my room.
That's a smart thing.
See, I was wondering if that would help as far as like, because then I could just go to sleep.
I don't know. Some people do fine with it, but I think by and large it's a bad idea, because it's just the same thing you talked about, and then plus you're just getting pounded with that light, like when you're getting ready to go to bed, Yeah. So probably not the best thing.
Yeah, I know that it's not great for me, but for whatever reason, that feels like my peace at the end of the day when it's busy.
Right, and that's some of the trades that you got to make, right? Because it's like, we've always had, with working people at our gym and trying to help them establish some of these habits. And one of the things that people consistently say is like, well, that's like the only time I have to just sit down and spend time with my husband or wife, or, just kind of have some time to myself and veg out. And it's like, that's it. And so they do it. And so it's tough to want to take that away from somebody, but you just have to consider how much of the rest of your life would be better if you didn't do it, because sleep, not sleeping well, not getting enough sleep makes the rest of your life worse.
Yeah.
Everything's harder.
When this just happened a couple days ago, my girlfriend had texted me and said, I had sent her a picture of the dogs and stuff on the couch, and she's like, why is it when I'm home not traveling, you don't watch TV much in the evening? And I said, she's like, or you just fall asleep as soon as you sit on the couch. I was like, well, that's because we watch different TV shows where I'm watching like pretty cool stuff.
What are you watching? What's
like,
cool?
Right now I'm watching Homeland.
Oh, is it cool? Is it good?
It's pretty good. I don't know. I like usually stuff with guns in it.
Sounds about right.
It's kind of where I'm at, and she's watching reality TV for the most part.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
Sometimes I get hooked though. I'm not gonna lie,
dude. There was like, I was dating a woman for a while, and she like would watch like 90 Day Fiance and stuff like that, and I was like, come on, like this is painful.
Yeah, I'm just like, man, like the shows I'm watching, I feel like are pretty good, pretty entertaining to watch. But
give yourself some pats on the back there, bud.
Yeah, trying to. Yeah. But I don't know how we got to that point. But
talking about sleep.
Yeah, but I think that's all important to the things we're talking about, and and being busy and things. But Todd, you've been on the podcast before, but there's been a lot of new listeners since the last time you were on a year ago. So let's give you a little background on who you are.
Do you want to ask me? Do you want to fire some like 60-minute questions at me? Or you just want me to do it? Do you want to ask me something?
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Reedsville, Pennsylvania. Mifflin County.
Mifflin County.
Mifflin County. Yeah.
Yeah, you're still in a good part of the state, but yeah,
You can't go. Do you know what I say as a native Pennsylvanian?
What?
I'm probably going to piss some people off when I say this, but I attribute Philadelphia to New Jersey. It's not part of our great state. Beau's not responsible for the things that I say. Just
I do think the same way, though. Yes. And all right. So I guess explain a little bit about your journey into where you're at today with Pack Mule Training Company. So, and to give the audience a background, I've been training with Todd for 6 years now. We established that we were on the hike. I thought it was 5. It's actually, this will be my 6th year of training with you. That was formerly Human Predator Pack Mule. That's why you changed the name.
I know why I
Pack
changed
Mule
it.
Training Co.
Yeah.
So just give a little bit of like that evolution.
So first thing, guys, I have to give credit where credit is due. A wonderful marketing and branding, we'll call her professional, Bryn Beery, actually helped me to change the name and develop it. So she came to me with Pack Mule Training Company. I was like, yep, that's it. That's what we're going to do. So I just want to make sure that she gets credit for her work. But so, I mean, I'm a career human performance coach, strength and conditioning coach, whatever you want to call it. It's how I've fed myself my entire adult life. And, I've been, I started when I was still in college, so it's been 20 years that I've been doing it. I was going to school for an undergraduate in psychology. I got that. And in the process of that, I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. And, a part of me, I thought about going to be a clinical psychologist. There were some other things on the table, but I realized I was spending most of my time, research and training folks. I was training 2 of the female athletic teams on campus, and I would go to the library and ignore my work and just go learn the things that I wanted to learn. So I would learn about human physiology, learn about training, do all that kind of stuff, and that's how I spent my time. And so I just got to the point where I was like, why am I fighting this? And decided to take some of the classes that I'd need to take to go to grad school for exercise science, kinesiology, whatever you want to call it. And my main plan at that point was to go to school, get out and become like a big time D1 strength and conditioning coach, like for a big D1 football program. That's what I wanted to do. And just realized that wasn't the path for me. I like to make things happen a little faster. And that's a very long path that I didn't want to walk. And so I got in the private sector, started an online business in like 2010 with my buddy Chris. We're still business partners. We have a gym together in Virginia, which was opened in 2011. I came on in 2016, and it's still going strong. So we did that, and then for 8 years, I was a human performance coach at a Tier 1 unit. So did that for 8 years. Just recently quit, so I could just move on and do some different things. Did that for a long time. I've trained everybody. I've NFL linebackers, grandmas, D1 athletes, everybody in between, obviously hunters, and I've trained ultra marathon runners. But I was kind of how Human Predator Pack Mule came about, which is now Pack Mule Training Company, is I was trying to get my first elk tag. And being a career strength and conditioning coach, one of the things that I've done is a lot of continuing education. It's never stopped. I've just very value learning, and so I've done a bunch of courses, I've gone to seminars, I've done a bunch of work, I've taught a bunch. And so I thought, I looked around the industry, I was like, well, there's got to be some folks that can do this well and that know some things that I don't, that can help me down the path and kind of get me along. And I'm not going to sit here and talk a bunch of shit or anything, but like I just didn't find anything that I liked, that I knew was quality enough to really to work for me. And so I was like, well, I'll just do it myself. And so I started writing out endurance programs, working on developing endurance under load, looking at the work that we were doing with the tactical populations, and working with other folks that I really respect, like my friend Doug Kajichin, who's a former Air Force PJ. Now he's a physical therapist and also an incredible human performance coach, and my mentor Bill Hartman, who's from Indiana. And no one's heard of him, but he's like the smartest guy in fitness and rehab. And so I would run stuff by them, and just like I actually had Doug train me for a while, and started building out these programs to get ready for Western hunting. And in the process, I just started documenting stuff on Instagram and everything like that. And hunters started raising their hands and saying like, "Hey, are you training people? Like, are you taking people on?" I had no intention of doing that because we had the gym, and then we had another program called Strength Faction, which is a coaching and mentorship program for other coaches and trainers. I was at the unit, the tactical unit, and I was also Equinox, which is a big bougie gym chain, had contracted me. And they like flew me all over North America to do continuing education seminars for their clients, or I'm sorry, for their trainers. And so like I was like, I don't have room for this, I don't want to do this. But then like I got into it and I saw the need, and I got really like far more passionate about training hunters because it was what I was doing. It's what my buddies do, and so I was like, you know what, I'll start doing it. And so I started writing some articles for some different places. I wrote a few for the Journal of Mountain Hunting. And that brought more people to raise their hands and ask me I was training people. And so I started doing it. And then that was, 2019. And then for a couple of years, we didn't really even have a name. I was just kind of doing it. And then went through the branding process with my friend Elias Carlson, who's actually the creative director for Field and Stream now. And came up with the logo and all of this kind of stuff and the ideation. And then I think we didn't really even finalize it as Human Predator Pack Mule until 2021. And so it was that until just the middle of last year, the middle of 2025. And that's when we rebranded and became Pack Mule Training Company. And so that's maybe a little bit more long-winded than you were bargaining for.
No, that's what I was hoping to go back into. Because one thing that I've learned with doing these podcasts, especially with guests like yourself that have been repeats over the years, is forgetting to go back to some of that background and why you're able to speak on the things that you're speaking on.
I've done a lot.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I would attest to that. And that was 2021 is when I came on with you.
Was it 2021? For some reason I thought it was 2020.
No, 2021 was the first year.
Okay, so then this is 5 years. And it's 5
well,
years.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
This will be 26, so it'll be 6 years.
Yeah,
it'll be 6 years.
Yeah. We can kind of do math.
Yeah. Well,
you can train, just maybe not math.
I'm a knuckle dragger, I guess.
Yeah. But that was the year that I came on with you and started working through it. And if I remember right, was it Matt comment that
it was?
That
Well, because I think I reached. Matt said, he knew you and that you were buddies and stuff, and so I think I just reached out to you on Instagram and just started a conversation with you, and then I bought a mug. I don't know if you remember that.
I did not remember that.
I bought an East Meets West mug. I do. I still have it.
I don't even make those anymore. Yeah. So
it's not even the same logo or anything anymore.
No, it was the original. It was the
old one. Yeah.
I
bought a mug from you.
That's funny, but
And you know what made me like you?
Why?
You immediately reached out and thanked me.
What'd I thank you for?
For buying the mug.
Oh, you didn't do anything special for me other than that.
But you said exactly.
I'm kidding.
But exactly.
I know.
I bought a damn mug and you still reached out and said thanks.
No, I'm just kidding. But and at that time I was fulfilling all my own orders too, and I remember
it's a lot. Shipping stuff sucks.
Shipping stuff is terrible.
Yeah, shipping stuff sucks, dude.
Yeah, I just remember being up late at night, just filling orders, and then getting tired and realize I put the wrong thing in the wrong box, and this person got this and that, and it's fun, but that's when we met, and everything, and I respect Matt a ton, and I still talk to
done a lot.
Matt to this day, and he spoke very highly of you, and he's kind of a no BS kind of guy. And so I was like, yeah, let's try her out. Yeah. And here we are today.
Yeah. It's been obviously great to have you. And I mean, things have evolved even in the time since you've been with us, programs keep getting better. The way that we deliver it keeps getting better. So it's been a lot of fun to build it and just, build the thing that I know is going to work for people and do it the way that I want to do it and give people the things that they actually need,
Yeah. So. How different do you feel training hunters compared to, say, tier 1 operators different?
It would depend on the unit, but so I'll talk about this from a broader perspective, but so for example, I worked with guys in the qualification course. So what would happen is they would go through selection, they get selected, and then they have a train up before they're selected to be put onto teams. And my main objective, my business partner and I worked together with them, was to keep them healthy as they went through all the stuff that they have to do to get ready, because they come in, most of them have had long special operations careers to that point. So you accumulate some damage. And so to keep them healthy as they went through all of the different things that they had to do skill-wise before they would be ready to go to teams. And so a lot of it was mitigation and making them realize that, some of the things that I have to do with hunters is that, like, you don't have to crush yourself to be ready to do the things that you want to do. And so there's a lot of similar to that, but like the principles are there. It's like, they need relative strength. They need aerobic capacity. They need some more specific stuff that hunters don't need. And a lot of times they don't need the degree of higher volume of aerobic training that hunters might need that are going to go into the backcountry. Now, if they have a special like mission set coming up or something, that they might need that, but for the most part, they don't need quite that much volume. And the biggest thing with them is, they can, because they've developed so much fitness throughout their lives and their careers, it's much easier for them to dig themselves a hole because of how efficient they are. So they can way overtrain very, very easily. And so that's, really mitigating the stress so that they could get through the qual course and get onto a team was really the biggest objective. But principally, there's a lot of similarities from a need standpoint. You just kind of shift the type of training volume for them. And then, another thing, from a bigger perspective, and full disclosure, my business partner did most of this work. They have to maintain readiness in a way that a lot of times as hunters we don't, right? Because they might get called on a mission and they have to be on a helicopter at, at 2:00 in the morning and go do their thing. So you can't crush them. Whereas and I don't ever really crush hunters, but you have to be a little bit more careful with training volume and what you might do at different phases when they're in different rotations throughout the year.
Yep.
So they have to maintain readiness a little bit differently than a hunter, and having more options for them because they might have to travel more, do different things. So having more of a modular program, which is my business partner did a great job developing that aspect of everything, so it's similarities. It's easier for them to train themselves into a hole. A lot of times working more around injuries and that kind of stuff. But at the base level, what I did was mitigate stress. Is really what it was. Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So to kind of try to move in a little bit of a different direction here with Pack Mule, kind of break down. I break it down in a couple different ways. So break down the times of years and how the time of year and the different training zones that you have it kind of broke into, and then talk a little bit about the different programs that you have. Because I was learning about some because I've been in backcountry ready for so long.
You didn't know the other stuff existed.
No, I did not. So.
Yeah, we so the first thing is one of our principles is year-long progressive training. So year-round progressive training. So the best thing for everybody to do is train year-round. Now, things need to look different at different times of year because you have to develop certain, physical qualities before you develop other ones. And so we break it down into 4 training blocks. We have early off-season, we have late off-season, we have pre-season, and we have in-season. So through the off-season, you could think about it, there's kind of like a transition period. If you're familiar with Uphill Athlete, if anybody's ever heard of their kind of stuff. So the early off season is what you might call a transition period, where we do this year, depending on the outcome of someone's testing, they would do either 2 heavier strength days and then a lot of aerobic work. Or if someone's strength is where it needs to be, they do 1 heavy strength day and 1 muscular endurance day, and then still a lot of aerobic work. Because at this time of year, spending the time to build an aerobic base and give yourself a really long runway leading up to hunting season is important. First, because you need to develop yourself aerobically so that you have the base endurance to be able to go and rely on your aerobic system so you don't fatigue really fast as you get into your hunt, and also so that you can go for days at a time. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is they don't develop their aerobic system to the point that it allows them to go day after day after day after day. Because we think that, well, I don't think this, but people think that just because that first hill is hard, that they have to crush themselves all the time to be ready for that hill, and it has to feel the same way. And really, it's just like it's a false, almost like a false positive kind of thing, where it's like, oh, well, it felt like that, so it must be getting me ready for it. But in reality, the first hill shouldn't have felt like that. It should have been easier. So early off season is like that. In the late off season, we start working more on strength endurance, and if someone's ready, you start to get into some more intense training. So more zone 3, more zone 4 type stuff to continue to build the raw materials that you need to go into the preseason, where we'll do more specific work, where still more strength endurance that is more related to what we might be doing while we're hunting. And then, more conditioning that's directly related to hunting, more pack work, more uphill work, more downhill work, things like that. And then as we get into preseason, it's more of a mitigating the stress of the hunting season, while also maintaining some of the things that we've built throughout the year. So we do more strength work in season, because if we're out hunting, we're doing a lot of moving around and kind of, in a way, maintaining our conditioning. That's what we specifically prepared for. So we need more strength work, and we do more mobility work and stuff in there to also make sure that we take care of our joints as we're doing all this kind of stuff. Well, I mean, that we do a ton of mobility and movement capacity work year round.
Yeah, year round,
but
sure.
Those are the focuses. And then as we get to the end of the in-season period, we start to build aerobic volume back up to start getting back into the next cycle for the next year.
Yeah, that the breaking it down like that, I think it helps for me, even hearing that and seeing it throughout the programs of like understanding what the goals are of those certain periods and time to be able to go through it. And we just did, at the time of recording this, we did testing last week, I believe.
Yeah, it's the first week.
So, going through and I got to learn the strengths and weaknesses of myself when it comes to it, and of like things for whatever reason, I've always been able to maintain relative strength. I'm not saying like I'm really strong or anything, but I've been able to maintain strength even in times when I'm not doing as much things. But the aerobic side's always the harder side for me to maintain when I'm not keeping up with it.
It takes volume, and some people have. It's just like anything else, right? Like some people have natural inclinations to be good at things. I mean, like you, it's taken me a lot of aerobic training volume to get where I am. I'm not naturally good at it. I'm naturally good at jumping, throwing things, and running fast, And so if you're good at stuff, we tend to want to do more of that. And really, that's one of the reasons that we test, is to kind of keep people from skewing themselves towards the things that they're good at, or they might think that they need. Whereas like, for example, during this training phase, if you test and your strength is where it needs to be, well, there's no point in hammering strength 2 days per week right now, because one strength day is still going to push your strength to the point that you might need it. And then we need to start developing the other aspects that you might need. But if your strength isn't where you need to be, then you need to hit that extra strength day. And that's one of the things that people don't realize, is you can maintain your strength with very little strength volume. Like 1 day a week will maintain it. And the thing to think about this is, like, we're training for life and we're training for hunting performance. Like, if you want to be big and strong, like, yeah, you need more strength training than that. But like, if you're already strong, if you're carrying enough muscle, you don't need to just keep hammering yourself with strength. But if someone needs to bring it up, we have 2 days for that. And then we have the muscular endurance day. And then, we did the testing to figure out where someone is exactly aerobically right now, and where the top of their zone 2 is, how much volume might help them move it based on their schedule and all of that kind of stuff, and where they need to be and what's going to be most effective for them. And then as we get into, as we finish up this phase, we'll do a threshold test. So we did an aerobic threshold test, then we'll do a lactate threshold test, which tells you where the top of your zone 3 is. And so I'll look at those numbers, and that'll help me determine whether or not someone's ready to add more intense conditioning. And if they are, how much?
Yep.
And so we'll look at that before we develop that stuff. And then more specific testing before we do the preseason. So there's always going to be a marker of knowing what's going to be the most important thing for you to do right now.
I almost wanted to purposely fail the deadlift test.
So you can lift more.
Yeah.
Hey, at the end of the day, you always have a choice, man. You always have a choice.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, in tempo strength isn't super fun, if we're honest. But
no.
It's not. It's brutal.
No, I hate that.
Yeah.
But luckily, that was supposed to be today for my training.
You have to do it tomorrow.
But I'm going to have to do it tomorrow now. I just put it off a day since you were coming in. I had to do some zone 1 and zone 2 work, so we had to adapt.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, no, it's miserable. It really is. But
yeah,
it's productive, or we wouldn't do it.
No, I agree. And yeah, like we've talked about before, man, if I could do hex bar deadlifts and incline dumbbell bench for the rest of my life, man, I'd just do that all the time.
And there's a place for them. There's a place for them. You just can't do it all the time. I mean, it's to what degree do you want to be prepared? That's the question you have to ask yourself. It's like, sure, you could do that stuff and be okay, but how prepared do you want to be?
I just want to have no neck, super strong.
Dude, that used to be the thing. Like that's. Yeah. I remember when I was playing football in high school. Like I always wore a cowboy collar because I just wanted to look bigger.
You look so.
And they were so stupid. Like I couldn't turn my head. And like as soon as I got to college, and I was like, well, obviously I played a different position in college too. But like I just took that damn thing off my shoulder pads.
I'd like, this is no joke. I'd be like, that was like a goal of mine in college, was to just have like
the big neck.
Yeah, just have giant traps.
That is like the 20-year-old dude goal, man. That is. I think every guy that's lifted weights has been there at some point in their life.
It's just like, all right. And every workout shrugs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Had to.
Absolutely. And then you wonder why you have headaches all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But anyway, so that gets through kind of like the cycles and the different periods there. Before we get into kind of the main thing that I want to talk about on this episode, explain the different like kind of packages that how you help people with Pack Mule.
So, I mean, one of the things that fitness is not a one size fits all thing. So like just based on the testing that I told you about, like that we just talked about, like people can see that people have different needs. The principles are the same, but they have to be applied to different people in different ways at different times based on where they're at. So when I set out to create everything that we created for Pack Mule, I wanted to meet different people to be able to provide solutions for people at all levels, right? So first of all, based on budget, based on how you want to train, based on needs, all of that kind of stuff. So I created a tiered system so that I could meet people at different places. So we have Pathfinder. Oh, and what I wanted to say, at each level, there's some degree of customization, right? So obviously, as it goes up, there's more. But even at the bottom level at Pathfinder, there's customization. So people come in, do a questionnaire, and based on the outcome of that questionnaire, I set you on the right path for you based on what I know, as best I can based on what I know. Then at Backcountry Ready, there is the year-round progression that we just talked about. And so, but within that progression, it is all tiered, right? So based on difficulty, based on what movements are going to work for people, and based on what people need. So when you come into Backcountry Ready, you go through the Backcountry Readiness Assessment, whichever aspect of it we're employing at that time. So like we just did, we did mobility testing. We set people's aerobic threshold. We did a cardiac drift test, which would confirm if someone's aerobic threshold was where they thought it was, but also tell us about where they are aerobically right now. And then we did our kind of uphill endurance and also like how much pack weight can you handle right now test, which is a 10-minute step-up test. And so that allows me to look and say, hey, you're aerobically really not where you need to be, and we got to really focus on this, or strength-wise, you need more. So, but then that allows me to help them customize their path through the program. So, some person might need to deadlift more than they do squats, or, if they're not where they need to be strength-wise, they might need to do a goblet squat instead of a front squat until they develop the strength. And then we see the mobility limitations that they might have. And so if you have a shoulder mobility limitation, here's your path. You're going to work on the shoulder mobility exercises that are included in the program. But I also send people extra work. Like you're going to want to do this outside of your gym sessions as well. And that way, everybody is as dialed in as they possibly can be on a very solid year-round progression that is still somewhat templated. And then there's Pack Mule Elite, which is completely individualized based on schedule, time, equipment people have, outcomes of testing. I'll even go into more detailed testing with them. And so it's completely individualized, and there's a lot more communication and getting people dialed in. I look at readiness scores every morning, like based on a questionnaire, and we'll adjust things on the fly, even schedule things weekly for people based on what they might need, so we can adjust even more in real time. And then I have Pack Mule Apex, which is essentially a hunting concierge service. So the easiest way that I think I can describe it is like I'm the COO of someone's training, nutrition, and mental skills. And so like I literally go out and see clients in person, test them, set up everything in like a 90-day plan, track everything meticulously for them. A weekly meeting where we get in person, adjust, track, move, change. So it's a very in-depth process. And so, but at each level, the customization just keeps walking up.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. And talking about all of this stuff, you keep going back to and talking about building progression over time, giving yourself a long enough runway, being consistent. One of the things that I've learned, that I've run into and other people run into, is the idea of time.
Mm-hmm.
And time, travel, all of these things, but with trying to be consistent and needing to be consistent to get to the level where you want to be at. How do you, I don't know how to ask this question properly, but how do you recommend people do that or think about it?
Well, I mean, the simplest answer is going back to the Arthur Ashe quote of, I think he said it. It might be the wrong guy, but we're going to say the quote anyway.
Yeah.
Do what you can with what you have. And if you set that as like, this is what I will do, then that is foundational to being able to exercise and train when you're short on time and you still want to make progress. And then another like philosophical foundation of it is you have to change. Often you have to change your definition of what success is, especially if you're kind of a hard charger, maybe you're a little type A. You have to change what success looks like for you based on what your schedule looks like. Because I think that's where people start to get really frustrated, and then they throw in the towel and they say, well, I don't have time to do everything, so it's not worth it to do anything.
Yeah.
And so those two pieces, those two thoughts, I guess we'll say, are foundational. So it starts everything with people that are short on time has to start there. And then from there, it's a few things like setting priorities. You have to set a priority of like, what do I need to accomplish? What is going to be the most important thing for me to spend time on? And then the next thing is looking ahead and scheduling and really knowing. So like one of the things that you could do, I think I wrote an email about this like last week or something like that to the newsletter, is set up if-then scenarios for yourself. And we do this with people in our nutrition coaching program. It's helps people navigate difficult eating situations because you've already spent the energy to make the decision. And if you have to make the decision in person at the time, it's going to be way more difficult to make that decision. So you make the decision ahead of time. And so like you look at your if-then scenarios. So let's say, you look ahead. I'm just making this up, right? But let's say you look ahead and March is going to be crazy, like with work. You're not going to have much time. You have to change your definition of success. So if right now success is you hit 5 full workouts a week and you look at March and that's not realistic, you have to change your definition of success. Or if you're getting 2 conditioning and 2 strength and 3 conditioning, you have to look at March and say, well, what can I do? What's realistic? I can get 1 strength workout in and I know I can get 2 conditioning workouts in. So you've redefined what success is and you've looked ahead and you've planned. And then you look at your if-then scenarios, right? And so if I come into the week and I only have 2 days to train, then I'll do this. Or if, I get to the hotel and there's no equipment, then I'll do this. So looking ahead, changing your definition of success and utilizing the time that you have is going to be the biggest thing. And really holding in your mind that it all counts, because consistency and momentum are the most important factors to training. And so you have to keep pressing the button, right? So I think one of the things that people look at is like, let's just say that there's an hour-long workout. It's going to take about an hour, and you only have 30 minutes. A lot of people will look at that and say, well, I don't have time to do the whole thing, so it's not worth doing anything. And that's not true. You use the 30 minutes that you have, because you still are checking the box. You're still accruing training volume. You're still keeping the momentum, and you're living up to the things you need to do to move yourself forward.
I think that is the hardest mental change of like looking at something. Say again that you only have 15 or 30 minutes and you have a 60-minute workout scheduled, of like, oh, I can't do it. It's just easy to just not think about it and not do it, versus just getting in and getting through part of it. And I think that's helped me a ton of just understanding like, hey, I'm going to do the best I can with this time that's available. But there's also a lot of times that I've learned that there are things that maybe, so I used to, when I had my full-time job, I'd get up every morning at 4 to 4:30 and I'd go to the gym. That's when I do my workout, and that was it. Now I have a little bit, I'd go to work, shower and go to work, but I have more flexibility.
Sometimes
in my
that's
schedule.
tougher, isn't it?
Sometimes that's tougher, because now it's like, all right, I prioritize sleep more now, which is very important. I did not sleep a lot during that time frame. Yeah, you remember those days. It was not healthy.
Yeah.
And so now I prioritize sleep more. So maybe I'm typically I'm getting up about 6 now. I'm not getting up at 4:30. I'm getting a couple extra hours of sleep in there, which has been incredible for me.
That's good.
But getting up, I learned that like getting up and working out right away, I still like that, but I'm also the most efficient with my work on my computer and my creative side right when I wake up. For whatever reason, I'm that way. So I was like, okay, my ideal training time is mid-morning.
That's what I do.
And
same deal.
But what I need to start doing is actually like scheduling it like a meeting. Like, this is the time I'm going to go.
Put it in.
Not just when I'm done with a task or I feel like I'm in a good spot to go, because then all of a sudden it's the afternoon and then I'm like, oh man, the gym's going to be busy. Mm-hmm. And then I put it off. And I've been days where then I just don't do it because I just kept kicking the can down the road.
That's like I literally coached one of the Backcountry Ready members to do that for themselves just a handful of weeks ago. It was like, just put it in your schedule. Like it's a meeting or it's a work task. Block out the time and do it. The world's not going to burn down. You're still going to have time to do everything else. Like it's and be realistic about the time that you need. You know, it's one of the best things that you can do is like sit down and look at your schedule every week and put those blocks of time in for yourself where you can. Another thing is, I mean, I know this isn't feasible for everybody, both financially and from a space perspective, but one of the things that's really helped a lot of our clients over the years maintain their consistency and actually get a lot of the time in their life back is having a home gym. Yeah. Because you don't think about, I mean, how far is the gym for you from here?
From this place, 10 minutes.
Okay. So that's still 20 minutes of your life.
Yeah.
Right. But if you think about it, you have the time and energy to mobilize yourself to get out the door, to go there, to get back.
My new gym's 22 minutes away.
There you go. So it's like there's 45 minutes.
I know
what I mean? So having a home gym is huge. Also, just having even some kind of minimal aspect of equipment at your house is huge. So for most of 2025, I lived on a cattle ranch in the middle of nowhere in California. And then I started traveling, coming back east, doing different things. My dog died. I got a new dog, so I'm training a new dog. Like, I'm an hour from town to go to the gym, and so looking at consistency and then what I need to do to keep myself going with my strength training. Like, I could just walk out the door and run or ruck. Like I lived in the mountains. It's not a big deal. But from a strength training standpoint, I was like, well, I need something here. So I bought a couple of kettlebells, and just had them on hand. So that way, is it going to?
Is it perfect?
No. Is it going to make me stronger? No. I'm already strong and I don't need to get that much stronger, but having that consistency to at least maintain strength, to maintain muscular endurance, or even just keep a little muscle in my frame was huge. So it's just doing little things like that to be able to set yourself up for success. Even if you have a couple dumbbells and you can do something, it's always going to be huge. And then you can set up your if-then statements for that. So it's like, if I don't make it to the gym on Tuesday, then I'll come home and I'll do the same movements. I'll just do them with the kettlebells.
Yeah, and that's so in my basement here. I remember being like, at first I was like, man, I really wanted to get, like the actual cage and have like the squat racks and build all the stuff that you would need pretty much there. But my ceilings weren't high enough.
Sure.
And I'm like, all right, what can I do? So that's what I've got in my basement. I've got a treadmill, I've got a TRX, and I've got kettlebells that range up to, I think the latest one I got was a 55. I've been stepping it up so I've got a 55, I've got a pair of 45s, a 35, pair of 25s, and I've got different stuff there, and then a mat that's laid down in a step-up box.
You can get it done. That's enough
and some
to get
sandbags. And honestly, like there's been a lot of workouts that you'll have prescribed to me that either couldn't get to the gym or didn't have the time to make the extra drive and stuff that I've had to modify a little bit, but I just use the stuff that I have, and I still felt good after it. I'm still moving in the right direction.
And if you're in the right process and you start learning enough because the process educates you, you know how to go home and make some of those modifications for yourself. But even just having one piece of cardio equipment in your home, if you have room for it, can change your life, can change your conditioning, right? Because that's, people don't like to run. And then a lot of people, they get to the rationalization of like, well, I'm not going to go the whole way to the gym just to do cardio. You know what I mean? Or whatever it might be. It's like, you got a treadmill in the basement, you got an assault bike or an echo bike or something, all you have to do is go downstairs to get it. And I know some people, they need different environments to do different things. But then you have to step back and say, and this is where, one of the things that we talk about, and there'll be even more coaching on this in Backcountry Ready this year, is you have to act on your values. You're not always going to feel like doing shit. And a lot of times you're not. And if you're counting on motivation, you're kind of screwed because you're not always going to be motivated. So you have to sit down and say, well, who do I want to be in this situation? How do I live it out? And so, not to get preachy or to like be a fucking life coach or anything, but like having values set up for each aspect of your life is huge, because then the way that I think about it when I was going through our year-long planning calls with folks is like you create a mountain, right? Top of the mountain is your ideal vision for the year. Okay. So what does this year look like? Along the sides, you have your goals and your measurables and the actions that you're going to take. Okay. To get yourself towards the top of the mountain. And then your values are the things that raise the base of the mountain for you so you don't fall too far back down it. So those times when you don't feel like doing anything or things might be difficult, you can lean on and say, well, no, this is who I said I wanted to be. And so I often share this example, and I'll share my own training value, which is to create excess. And that to me means to always have the mental and physical reserves so people can count on me when the chips are down. Like you, I go to a lot of gnarly places with people that I care about. And I always want to be able to be ready to carry the extra load or to be able to help when someone might need me. I always want to have my head on straight, and I always want to have the physical capabilities to be able to do what I need to do. And for myself too, and that's not to be like just a hero, but that's just valuable to me. And for other people, it's going to be something different is going to be valuable for them. But I really encourage everyone to make a value statement, like create excess or like a phrase or a word. And then what does that mean? And how do you live it out?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you a palpable example. We didn't end up going. We're going to go this August, I believe. But last August, I was supposed to go to the Northwest Territories with my friend Rabita to help her on her Dall sheep hunt. I was essentially just going to be a pack mule and carry shit, and so and run the glass and stuff like that. But there was a specific day I remember. I was at the gym and I was supposed to do front squats. And I didn't feel like doing a damn thing. And then I remembered that value came into my head. And I remembered, dude, you're going to the Northwest Territories with someone you care about a whole lot. Those mountains are gnarly. Get under the bar. Get to work. And not to be a hard ass, because I don't think being a hard ass is the right move for really anybody, because we don't have to talk about that. But anyway, it's it's that catch-all that allows you to stay on course and choose to be. And here's another thing. It's like, I said you don't always have the motivation. You always have motivation, right? That we're humans. We behave on motivation. I take a drink because I have the motivation to take a drink, right? I sit on the couch and watch TV instead of doing what I want to do, what I should be doing, because I have more motivation to do that than to do the other things. And so then you can sit down and ask yourself the question, does my motivation to lay on the couch outweigh my values of who I want to be? And you can ask yourself that question. And sometimes the couch is going to win. You're not going to win every time.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're going to sit there and say, no, that's not who I want to be. And then you go do the thing that you need to do. And
just don't ask yourself the question. You're fine. I'm kidding, Todd. I'm kidding.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? Is like, and then you can look at it and then all of that other stuff layers on top of it.
Yep.
Well, do what you can with what you have. Well, I only have 30 minutes. This is who I want to be. I'm going to use those 30 minutes and get somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking about it was just it was 2 weeks ago. I was here and it might have been this week actually. Yeah, it was this week. I had to do, on Monday we were doing strength day and there's an additional 30 minutes of zone 1 and 2.
If you, yeah.
And I wanted to do that. It wasn't a necessary thing. It was an optional. And I was like, I should do that looking at my, score. And I was super busy doing things here at the house. And I was like, but I had so much time behind that computer screen. I was like, I need to do something.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, 8:30 at night or whatever. I just went down in the basement, got in the treadmill, and I was like, you know what? I had to schedule some posts and stuff I had for doing for the scouting camp registration that was coming up this week. So I just did that while I was walking on the treadmill. I was in zone 1. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but at least I was moving while I was doing that. And I felt better after doing that, just being there for 30 minutes.
Yeah. There's the cliched saying is like, people say like, man, I regret that workout, said no one ever. And it's like, well, that's not true. There's going to be some that you regret. Like if you do something stupid or you hurt yourself, like there's absolutely a way to regret but if you make a good choice and you do the right thing for yourself afterwards, you're always going to feel better. You're going and this might not be the best way to go about it. I'm sure there are psychologists that would tell me that people shouldn't ask themselves this question. But a lot of times, like when I'm faced with those kind of situations, I say, who would I like more? Would I like the Todd that bags it even though he knows he can do it? Or would I like the Todd that goes and does the thing? And, I don't think you should ever set yourself up in positions to like yourself less. You know what I mean? So
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm a psychologist, so.
You are?
Mm-hmm. Huh. You didn't know that,
Where'd you study?
Stanford.
You sure did. You sure did.
But yeah, I don't know. I think all of that, there's so many, especially around the new year and stuff, you see all these things as far as motivation, habit building, blah, 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 all the stuff that's out there. And there was one book that I felt like helped me a bunch. It was Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, yeah,
it's a very popular one, but it's a great book of helping you create those habits and making it easier to do things.
It's funny you say that. Most of the work that's in that book, he borrowed from B.J. Fogg, who was actually a psychologist at Stanford. So we can
I know, I studied with him.
Yeah, there you go. So he has a book called Tiny Habits, right? So there's good and bad there, right?
Yeah,
because he developed these habits, this whole thing about how you can make change. Like literally, making the change so small, like if you're having trouble flossing your teeth, just go say, well, my goal is to floss one tooth. Yep. And then you get in there and you floss one tooth and you're like, well, I'm going to floss all of them. The dark side of this is like some of his students use the things that they learned in that class to create Instagram and make it so addictive. So
really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah.
But those things in that book had helped me so much of like, actually, no, we weren't even talking. Thomas was here yesterday. I thought I was just talking about this and I was hoping I wasn't repeating myself on the podcast, but we were talking about I told him to read that book. We were going on certain things, and he was like, and I said, it's like me shooting my bow. It's like, all right, I made it so it's not that hard for me to shoot my bow every day.
Make the environment easy. Absolutely.
Because I have 3 targets out in my yard set right there that my bow sits by the door that I have there. My release, my bino harness, my rangefinder is right there. I grab it.
Absolutely.
I walk outside. I can shoot a few arrows, be back in. There's limited drag that holds me back from doing that. Now, where it would be harder, and I could see it being harder for people that can't shoot in their yard and they have to drive somewhere to a range to do so. So like in the wintertime, now that adds another element to it that I don't really always want to go out in the freezing cold and shoot my bow.
Open your door and do it from the front door.
That's how I should set it up. There, see, look at you, help me. What I do now is I have a target in my basement.
That works too.
That I just work on my form and just practice an execution. I'm shooting 10 yards. I can shoot 16 is like maximum where I can go to, but I just practice and execute in a shot, and just doing that a few times. And when I'm doing a workout down there, sometimes I'll do that even in between sets of things. I'll just have. When I'm doing that, typically it's just one arrow. Just have one arrow there. I'll shoot it, go through the, what I'm doing, grab the arrow. Next time, boom, shoot another one.
Setting your environments up for you to be successful is a big thing. And that's a lot of people think they should just be able to rely on willpower. And it is a resource that is incredibly easy to deplete. And so doing whatever you can to set yourself up for success. Like one of the things that we coach people to do, through our nutrition program at the gym, and even with our nutrition program in Pack Mule, is to, like, for example, when you get home from the grocery store, let's say you go on Sundays, you get home from the grocery store, instead of just chucking your vegetables in the fridge, right there on Sunday when you have time, wash them and chop them up. That way, all you have to do is pull them out throughout the week, and they're already ready to go.
Oh, I hate chopping vegetables.
Yeah, so there you go.
That's a good...
Instead of doing it 6 o'clock at night on Tuesday when you don't feel like doing it, do it on Sunday. And so when it's 6 o'clock on night on Tuesday and you just want to make a stir fry, or you just want to make some ground beef and throw some vegetables in with it, it's all ready to go for you. Setting your environments up for success is huge.
Yeah, that the food side of it is something I'm in the process of starting to work on. I'm not there yet, but as far as setting myself up better, because I always feel like all of a sudden, especially later in the week, beginning of the week, I'm pretty good. I got things prepped. Comes Thursday, like we have here today, it's like, what am I going to eat for dinner? And I'm like, I didn't thaw any meat. And then it's like, okay, well, I can just get something that's frozen here a little bit quicker and easier. But when, what I had been doing was I've eaten a lot of bacon in my life. And I know that, a little bit of bacon isn't hurtful to you, but I'd eat 3 eggs and 2 pieces of bacon and kimchi. That was kind of my breakfast in the morning. Well, it's like, all right, probably shouldn't have bacon 5 times a week. So, so I was like, well, I've got a lot of wild game. So so now I just make steak, and I'll make a bunch of it, and then I just have it chopped up so I can just have that, I'll dip it in my eggs. It's really good, man. And started doing that. And I'm like, man, that's a great option that still tastes awesome.
Set yourself up for success, man.
And trying to do that. It's one step. I've still got a long ways to work through those.
And that's the thing, is you build things one step at a time. It's one step at a time. And even, in our nutrition coaching program, we start with one habit at a time. With the mental skills, the ACT-based mental skills program that I built out for Backcountry Ready this year, it's one skill at a time each week. And instead of thinking like of the whole end goal and trying to do it all at once, you layer them. And then it might seem like it's slower, but then in 12 or 16 weeks, you're a totally different person with totally different systems to support your life. And you just did it one step at a time. And that's what, people have to be comfortable with. They have to be patient, and they have to take those 1, 2, 3 steps at a time. And it's going to seem slow. And sometimes it feels like one of the things that you hear is like, oh, it's too easy. And it's like, well, it needs to be. It needs to be seamless. And as you go and you build all of these things, then you start to see the change. It's like I think James Clear tells a story in that book about the ice in the room or something, where it's like, you have to warm the room up to melt the ice.
Yeah.
And it's like you start at 15 degrees and you did all the work to get it to 15 degrees. And then you do all the work to get it to 25 degrees. And then you do all the work and you finally get it to 33 degrees and the ice starts to melt. Well, it isn't just the work to go from 32 degrees to 33 degrees that melted the ice. It's the work that started when you work to get the room up to 15 degrees. Mm-hmm. And that is how everything works. It's how everything works.
Yeah. I so much in business or anything else, like I'll have these, like, I'll look at this goal or something I need to do, or I'll see somebody else doing something. Man, I should be doing that. And I'm going to look at it. It's like, it's going to require so much. And then when I back it down, I'm like, okay, if I do this one little thing, every week, or maybe I start it of something that, start it at a timeline of like, okay, I'm going to do this one thing. Say it's a marketing email. I'm going to do it once a month, but I set it to it and I start doing it. Say, okay, got that momentum. Rhythm. I created this system for it. Now I can do 2 of them per month with the same time because I've created these skills and this framework to be able to do it. And then you start moving in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And next thing you know, you're consistent with it. But I think building those consistencies into it, no matter how small, I mean, that's definitely helped me out a lot. And I still have to remind myself a lot on that.
Well, you're not perfect, and nobody is, man.
Think about, like, you say you draw a tag. Say you drew a Wyoming elk tag, okay? You drew this Wyoming elk tag.
I got a lot of points. I hope I do.
Yeah. When is the deadline for that?
It's
going to be coming up.
It's got to be the end of this month. I'm not going there this year anyway, so I'm pretty sure it's the end of this month.
I got to check on that because I could draw this year. But anyways, that was a sidetrack. But say you drew that tag, or I draw that tag, and you're going to an area you've never been to before, or you don't even know, because if you get a general tag, say West General tag, it's like there's a
lot of land.
Where do you start? And it's like, holy cow, where do I go? But you break it down into, and the way I do it in some of these hunts, like 10 minutes a day. If I can spend looking at maps or doing something, I have it in my journal, my notebook that I have of my daily things. I have there's like daily non-negotiables that are written down that I check off, and it's 10 minutes of hunt prep, I call it. That's working towards one of those goals. It's just a little bit, and I can do that. I could do that sitting on the toilet while I'm on my phone. I could do that on my computer. I could do that, but I make it a point to do those little things, and all of a sudden 2 months into it, you're like, man, I've got this unit all scouted out, and I've got option A, B, C, D, and E in case there's pressure, in case there's wolves, in case there's this that has to change it. And that helps versus trying to do it, cram it all at one time.
Yeah. And I mean, it applies to a lot of different stuff. I'll give you an example. Preface this, I'm not a professional dog trainer, but I know how to train a dog to be obedient, right? To a certain degree, I'm decent at it, right? And so, my dog Ruth, I got her in August, and I was with a friend the other day, and they were asking me questions about getting their dog to behave and stuff, and getting them to get better at recall and all that kind of stuff. I was like, well, the first thing you have to do is give them a place. It's easier to build recall if they understand to go to a place first. And so, like, her dog was there, and I just walked her through teaching her dog to place. I had her dog to place in 5 minutes. And she's like, well, how much of this training do I need to do to get? I was like, I just did that in 3 minutes. Like, if you did 3 to 5 minutes every day with your dog, in a month, you'll have a different dog, And so that's how, Ruth still has her issues. She was a rescue and she's still got her baggage. But to the most degree, Ruth is a very well behaved and obedient dog. And it's because I just worked 5 minutes every day, at least, And it's just, you don't realize how much wood you actually chop just by doing little things every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that is a key to a lot of things in life.
Yeah. It's setting up your environments for success. It's having the thing that you value in line. It's doing what you have with what you can. It's valuing progress over perfection. Because if you're always waiting for the perfect preconditions, you're never going to do anything, or not to the degree that you actually could, because you're setting it up in your mind that it has to be perfect before you act, and then then you're never going to do anything. And that's just like one of the things that, we hear a lot about training and stuff, even since we're talking about being busy, is like, well, I'll do this when things slow down. And it's like, well, no, you won't, because when are things ever going to slow down? And then a good reframe is, it's like, well, if you do it now, you'll learn how to do it when you're busy. Mm-hmm. It'll be even easier when things slow down. Learn how to do it now. And, one of those things where people talk about everybody's busy. Of course, there are varying degrees of busy. Like, I work with a CEO in Pack Mule Apex, and he is the busiest person that I know, right? And he still has time for his family. He still gets one strength session in a week, and he still gets at least 3 hours of conditioning in per week. And if he can get that in, you can get it in, right? So we're all busy. We're all busy. But then it's like, I want you to take a step back, and I think I've talked about this on a podcast with you before, but like, open up your phone and look at your screen time. How much are you on your phone?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Well, how are you actually using your time? Like, doing a real-time audit of how you are actually spending your time. And you start to realize, like, oh, well, maybe I did have that 45 minutes, or maybe I did have that hour. I just used it in a very unvaluable and unproductive way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely...
We all fall victim to it. I'm not being holier than thou about this at all. Like, I've totally fall victim to it too. But
no, and I think that some of the best advice that was given to me, maybe it came from you, and I think it came from multiple people, but you're going to fall off the wagon on anything pretty, somewhat often. It can happen, but it's the fact that you just keep getting back on and keep trying. Yeah. Then all of a sudden it doesn't happen as much.
Exactly.
Or if you fall off, you don't fall as far.
For as long.
Yeah. As long or as far.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the things, like, even with kind of same but different, but like when I started taking ADHD medication, I was like, I've been chasing squirrels my whole life. It's like, but once I started taking the medication, is like, oh, well, I can see a squirrel and not chase it.
Yeah.
Or I can chase that squirrel, just not as far, and I can get back to what I'm doing,
Yeah.
And you learn those skills, right? And it applies to everything. It's just, it gets easier for you to do that. And I think one of the things that people run into is they think everything's a wash when they make one suboptimal decision. And you can define suboptimal however you want, but like, let's say you work in an office building and someone brought in cupcakes, right? And maybe breakfast was good, and then during your 10:15 or 10:30 break, you go down to the break room and you have a cupcake, and then you're like, well, screw it, the whole day is gone. But it's not. It's like each moment is a chance to make a decision. Like, that's over, it's done. So once that's done,
it was great.
It was good. It was red velvet. It had cheesecake ice or cream cheese icing. It was really nice. But you have a chance to make a decision next time. So nothing's ever a wash. Each time, it doesn't totally, like, I think you can get in the weeds, and these kind of quotes can be dangerous. But in this context, I think it applies. There's this guy named Alan Watts who brought like Eastern philosophy to the West, and one of his famous quotes is, "You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago." And so, just because you made that decision 5 minutes ago doesn't mean you have to carry that forward through the rest of your day. That's done. Okay, you enjoyed it. Now I can go to lunch and I can look at my decision set and make different ones based on the trajectory that I want to be on.
Yeah, I totally wholeheartedly agree with that, and I just hope, anybody that's listening to this, that they can get anything from it. Is just that no matter what you are right now, and you look in the mirror, I mean, you can have the ability to change that even a little bit by tomorrow. And
Absolutely.
Then you keep doing that by a month, see what you're going to look like.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, there's the old, like, quote, the quip or whatever, that people don't change. And it's like, yeah, they do. People can change. Mm-hmm. People have huge capacity to change. We are the most adaptable critter on the planet. Coyotes are probably second, and then but like we can, and white-tailed deer probably.
I was
third.
to say whitetails are pretty
adaptable
too.
Yeah. But that's what we do. We can change. That's why we are the apex predator on the planet, is because we have the ability to change and adapt so much better than anything else. And so to think that we've got to where we are now, it's like, you can make a different decision 5 minutes from now, and you can start to set yourself on a trajectory that takes you forward into a different place, and based on whatever it is that you want.
I definitely agree with that, man. We're lucky to be able to do that. Like,
Yeah.
we live in a country, we have a life, we have the ability to change.
Yeah.
And everybody's scenario looks different. And
For sure.
just because your scenario looks different than someone else's, maybe your outcome's going to look a little bit different for a period of time, but
There's a couple things that you just that you said there that made me think of things like the first part is you have to stop beating the hell out of yourself when you make a decision that you don't necessarily like to. Like I said, who would I like more? Like, sure. Like, do I nail that every time? No. Sometimes I make a decision I shouldn't. Of course I do. But when I make that decision, I let it go and I move on, and that's what we have. You can't beat the piss out of yourself all the time and expect to continue to move yourself forward. You also are never going to rid yourself of negative thoughts. They're always going to be there. You just have to learn not to listen to them and realize that you're the person you're the person that's observing the thoughts. You are not the thought, that kind of stuff helps. And then also, I lost what were you saying? What else did you say? I lost my train of thought.
Just about if you're in a different.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, let's say there's a kid out there that's like, man, I love what Beau Martonik does. He's got this podcast. It's popular. He gets to hunt all over North America. And then he starts comparing himself to you, right? And you're in chapter 12 of the book and he's in chapter 1. Like, well, of course you're not where Beau is. He's read most of the book already. Mm-hmm. You just haven't started reading it yet. And so you can't look at that and say, well, it's unattainable for me, or like I'm not as good as them, or whatever it might be, just based on where somebody else is, because you're starting from a different point, like you said, or someone might just be farther down the book than you are. And you have to let that shit go. And social media makes it worse.
Oh, and I actually, when I did the goals podcast, I did a solo one of talking about like my reflection on last year and where I'm moving forward. And I said that, like, I was like, listen, I want everyone that's listening to this to understand that what I just said, as far as my personal goals, does not have to be your goals.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be.
And it should, yeah. And it's not, it may not be realistic to you at this point. And that doesn't mean you should be just like, oh, Beau's got that, I'll never have that. If you want something that's similar, you can get there, but you have to look at the amount of time that you have available, the resources you have, and maybe that time to hit that goal may be a little bit of a longer a time horizon.
Sure.
That's what I honestly, I love when Alex Ramosi talks about this with business, about looking at things in longer time horizons. Yeah. And when you look at something and you give yourself 10 years to accomplish this giant goal, it's a lot more attainable than if you think you're going to do it in 2026.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You saying that, like, that's, I agree with it, because there'll be times I'll catch myself, I'll be on the podcast talking about something and I'm like, man, well, maybe that's not as relatable to somebody else, but at the same time, you're never going to say something that's like exactly how someone's life is.
And everybody's going to take it the way that they need at a given time, right? So it's like you and I could read the same book and take completely different lessons from it, because it's based on all of the context that you have in your life and your current situation that allows you to take whatever you take from something.
That's a really good perspective.
That's one of the reasons, like, at the end of every year, my friend Adam, this gigantic Englishman, asked me, like, what are my favorite books of the year, and like what did they do for me and why did I like them? And he asked me that because for years I've said I don't make general book recommendations, because you have to be ready for certain information at certain points in your life. And if you're not, it's just going to fall on deaf ears. Like, for example, when we used to have a bigger staff development program at my gym, we have a very small staff, but we used to have a bigger one. And I ran the internship program and I ran the staff development program. And we would start everybody off when they came in with this book called The Slight Edge. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It essentially talks about a lot of the things we're talking about now. It's like small actions, they compound, like use compounding interest to change your life, essentially. And if I'd have read that book, I mean, I read it for the first time when I was probably I don't remember what came out, but I think I read it for the first time in my late 20s. If I'd have read that book when I was 18, I'm like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to be ready for certain information before it lands for you too. You got to do some living. Sometimes you got to get punched in the face. That's one of my fears for most young men in this country is most of these guys are never going to get punched square in the face. Man, do you learn a lot about yourself when you get punched in the face?
Yeah, you do.
So it's just you have to be ready for certain information. You have to have the right context, and you had to live a little bit sometimes for it to sink in.
That's a very good point about books specifically, because I've been asked that before. Like I'm not going to say I'm like well versed and read a ton of stuff, but I read a decent amount of books throughout the year. And if someone's like, what were some of your favorite books? I've thought about it, and I don't know how to answer it because like mine are at this point very tailored to certain
You're
goals
trying to
I
accomplish
have.
something.
I'm trying to accomplish
Absolutely.
something.
But honestly, dude, like that's how it should be. I mean, one of the things that I've realized for myself is I do best when I have a problem to solve. Yeah. And then you seek out the information that you need to solve that problem. You turn it into a project, and you apply the appropriate amount of effort and information gathering into solving that problem and in that project. And I think that that's something that people, ought to do for themselves. A lot of times it just takes you a different place. And then I know what I wanted to talk about. You were talking about something a little bit earlier. And then you have to realize, I mean, I think a lot of people do conceptually, but and practically realize that there's a certain level of sacrifice that you're just going to have to make. You have to sacrifice some things to get to other places that you want. But the thing is, going back to the mountain analogy, you have to have the top of the mountain that you want in your mind to be able to make that sacrifice, because you have to know why you're doing zone 1 and zone 2 training is a great example, because it's like, it's not always fun, but you have to realize that you're doing that. You're making that sacrifice of not doing something else because you know that this is going to take you towards the place that you want to go. And it's like that with anything, man. It's like that with anything.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought, but a book there's a book I'm reading right now. I have to look up the author's name. When I say reading, this one I'm audio book.
It counts.
Listening, but yeah, I count it. All In by Mike Michalowicz.
Yeah, he wrote like Profit First and stuff like that.
It's
a good book.
I love that book. But All In is a book about hiring people and going through that as I've got to a point in, with East Meets West and Timber Ninja, I've had to where like, I feel like I'm pulling my hair out, so busy with things all the time. And I've even had help come in, and sometimes I'm like, I get frustrated of like the time it takes for someone to get up to speed with something, or they're not doing things the way I think that they should be doing it, and come to realize a lot of it. And I end up just doing it myself because I can do it quicker, but
you didn't set them up for success.
I didn't set them up for that success. I wasn't training properly. I didn't spend that upfront time to reap those rewards down the road. I mean, it's the same concept with just about everything in life, but for some reason that didn't click with me for the longest time.
It's different context.
And I mean, even, it's just, I've went through it with hiring people to help me out with the podcast before. And a lot of it was like, I didn't give the right direction of what I was looking for and what my expectations were. I just thought that this is the way it should be. Yeah. And now it's working out better, but I feel like, I think they're just they're very motivated and do well with that and listen. But also I've been able to build a framework, created systems to show how I was doing something, why I'm looking for certain things, going back, reviewing it constantly, having weekly meetings to review that. It all takes time, but it's it's made things so much easier now, 9 months later than it would have been if I went the old route of how I used to do it, of just like, all right, that's off my plate now.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing. But like my business partner, Chris, says, like clarity is a hell of a drug. And that applies across different situations, from getting clarity for yourself to giving other people clarity so they know what success looks like. And it's like some of the things that we were talking about at lunch with self-determination theory, which is based on autonomy, competence, and relatedness. People have to feel competent And then you have to look at like, well, what's my responsibility in helping them feel competent to do the thing that they need to do so they feel like they can choose to do it well. Because if they don't feel competent, they won't be motivated. And it shuts people down.
Yeah. It definitely does. And so like that's something that maybe that book may not be a recommendation to someone else. That's
sure. Well, and that's what's like, when people ask me stuff, it's about that. I get as much information about where they're at in their life and what problems they're trying to solve. So I can say, well, this might be the right book.
What book should I read?
I don't know. What do you want?
Sci-fi.
I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy.
That me neither. No, it's funny. There's been books that I've read before where things didn't really make sense that I've come back to and that have made sense way more once I've had those experiences. And I think that even when it comes to say like this podcast and hunting podcast, and Johnny said it on a recent one, he's like, I think sometimes people, which I'm thankful that people listen to podcasts, but they listen to so many of it without going and doing the thing.
You have to do the thing.
And you got to do the thing, and that helps some of that information make sense.
You have to do the thing. Yeah. And even teach the thing.
Yeah.
Do the thing, teach the thing. Like you learn while you teach it.
And that's what like the scouting camp, when I put that on, like that is set. That's why there's portion that's in the classroom. There's important building those foundations, but we got to go out in the field and show you exactly.
Absolutely.
That's something you can't get from a podcast, or you can't even get from a video most of the time, to actually see it in real life, feel it, do the thing.
Absolutely.
And there's just so much value in just doing that, and you're going to fail in that process, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's where you have to figure out what you want most from a situation. And one of the things that can help you or help anybody from beating themselves up and also feeling successful is, instead of like, so for example, when I haven't been able to hunt whitetails all that much in the past couple of years, but every time I would go out to hunt, I would say, well, what's the one thing I want to learn this time, or what do I want to work on while I go out and hunt? So it's like, if I always, like I said on our hike today, it's like, I mean, I'm a pretty good hunter. I'm not a top tier hunter, and I know that about myself, and I know how much room for growth I have. So if I made success every time killing that buck that I want to kill, well, like, I'm never going to be successful, because it's going to, like, it's a rare day. You might, you know better than anybody, you might hunt the same buck for 2-3 years.
Oh yeah.
And if it was success was killing that buck each time, you're never going to be successful. You're never going to feel successful. But if you go and you learn one bit of information about that area you hunted, or you worked on one thing in the stand that improved your system or made you more comfortable or allowed you to stay there longer or whatever it might be, then you're successful. So if you define success by learning, I'm going to learn something each time, it makes you successful. But then also, as a result, there's a higher likelihood that you actually reach the ultimate success of having the outcome you want, which would be killing that buck in that example. But it applies to anything else.
Yeah. 100%. And my dad said a quote in the film that we did about him, the Mountain Man Joe film, where he just said because actually the year prior to us shooting that film was the first year in 40 some years that he didn't fill his Pennsylvania buck tag. And he was like,
that's impressive,
and
dude.
It is. But he was like, I learned more that year than I have in a long time, of like, and I can't remember his exact quote, but it was along those lines of those years of those struggles and things not going right. And he's like, there were lessons that I'd learned years ago that I'd forgotten, made those mistakes again, that it was like, okay, I need to reset.
Well, and it also, like, I know that you've been there because we've had this conversation before, but there was a year, it might have been 2 years in a row, right? I had these two properties, full disclosure, it was private land.
Oh man, you're a bad man.
It was private land in Virginia. So I had access to this one property that was like down in the valley. It was the one I was telling you about earlier, like little woodlot, CRP field, cornfield, lots of good edges. There was a nice buck there. I got within 50 yards of him one time, couldn't get a shot. That was it. And then there was this other buck that was up on this mountain property. that I hunted both of those bucks hard, and I drove myself nuts, like insane about these deer, like to the point where I wasn't having fun anymore. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm hunting deer. Like, I'm not going to go hungry. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this because I enjoy it. And why am I doing it this way? Yeah. You know? And then I messed up on the buck on the mountain. I don't think I ever told you. I'm going to tell you real quick.
Yeah.
I gave myself till 11 o'clock to hunt, right? And I was set up on him pretty good. And I had a pretty good idea where he might go. 11 o'clock hits. I was like, well, I got to get down and get to work. I start climbing down to the tree, and here he comes, walking right through. And I was like, well, I'm never going to see him again. And that was it. He was gone.
Yeah, that story there is, and I'm not even going to say it because everyone's heard it on here so much, but the amount of times that exact scenario has happened to me of like, normally it's when I set a time and I leave 15 minutes early and then they come in that window.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the tail oldest time right there, man. Like that, it hurt. It stings worse than if you never saw that deer.
For sure. And that's like, that's why, like, I kind of like, I don't know if you know, if you've ever seen, I'm sure you've seen their stuff like the okayest hunter.
Yeah,
stuff. It's like, I kind of like that because like now it's like, well, I'm just going to kill what I want to kill. Like, you know what I mean? If a basket rack was out, I'm going to kill them. I don't care.
Those guys are good dudes.
You know them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yep,
cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know them very well. And yeah, I like reading their
dude, you know
posts.
who's great about that?
Who's that?
Fred Eichler. You know what I mean? Because that dude, like, he could be, the dude just kills what he wants to kill. Whatever comes out. Like, you see him, he's sitting there with a fork horn, just the biggest shit-eating grin you've ever seen in your life. You know what I mean? And it's like, I remember I heard a story about this one guy in Minnesota, right? And you would walk into this guy's shed, and he was old at this point, right? And he had, you know, whether it was cap skulls or full Euros or whatever, just like all around his garage. Some of them were spikes. Some of them were forks. Some of them were monsters.
Yeah.
But it's like the dude just hunted and did what he wanted to do, and he enjoyed himself. And the amount of success that he had killing big bucks isn't any different than, well, I don't know this, but is likely comparable to what he would have done if he passed on all these other opportunities. You know what I mean? So it's like, enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Learn shit and enjoy yourself.
And set goals based on what you're looking to.
Exactly.
The experience you're looking to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And realize like the context of what you're getting into. And I think that's, you know, guys put so much pressure on themselves, like Easterners like us that have traveled out west to hunt. And it's like, well, you know, I spent $800 on this tag. I'm taking a week off of work. Like, I'm away from my family. I'm doing this, like, blah, blah, blah. And they put all this pressure to go out to Montana or Wyoming and Colorado and fill their elk tag or whatever it might be. It's like, bud, you don't live there. Like, what realistic expectations can you have unless you go to the same spot every year and you continue to learn it? So if like you go out there and you fill your tag, fantastic, and like get better as a hunter.
Yeah.
But if you're like, success is I have to fill this tag, man, that tag's just getting you to the dance. You know what I mean? It gives you the opportunity to go enjoy yourself and hopefully kill something. But like, you just have to put it in the right frame, you know?
I agree with you there, man. It's funny how we play mind games with ourselves and can put those pressures on ourselves and go through it. And I think it's good to an extent. And then it's also can be, self-destructing too. Yeah, so it's, yeah, I always am going back and forth on it. My biggest thing that I've learned, and I did this when I was going to Iowa this year, was everyone's like, oh, you're going to Iowa. Like, is your goal 160-inch deer? Is it 150, 160-inch deer? I said, my goal is whatever. When I grab my bow without thinking twice, and I'm like, wow, like that's a representation of a mature Iowa buck. That's how I looked at it and the experience that I wanted, and that's how I went about it, and I had a blast doing it that way.
Yeah, dude, I get that, and I understand. I'll preface this by saying I understand the value of measuring an animal, right? I get it, but who was it? Jim, I can't say his last name, Posowitz or whatever, who wrote Beyond Fair Chase, and how he's dead now. I think he was from Montana, but he never measured anything. And I was like, I don't know that I'll ever measure anything unless I really have to, or like a guide. If I go on a guided hunt and they do it, or whatever, it's like, I don't care. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like if somebody is that what was it, 170? I don't know. Maybe could be. I don't know.
Could be 110. I don't know.
Because I don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's mine. You know, and I get that some people are probably going to poo poo me for saying that, but I don't care because it's like you get to do it the way that you want to do it.
Yeah. I don't. The thing is, man, there's people that like doing the measuring, and that's how they go about it. And if they enjoy it, man,
absolutely,
go ahead,
knock your socks off, brother. Yeah, absolutely.
I've just come to learn that there's been times when I've been like, oh, this is awesome. What's this hammer buck? And then I decide to measure it up, and I'm like,
changed your perception.
He's 4 inches smaller than I thought he was, and I'm like, man. You know, and then I catch myself and I'm like, what are you doing?
I like the way that you said about being an eye. I was like, am I excited?
Yeah.
Like, was I happy to see? Like, was that what I want? Yeah. Then yes.
Because my gut doesn't lie to me, and I know, like, okay, I wasn't going there to shoot a small buck. Me personally, my goals of going there, waiting all that time to draw that tag.
For sure.
So that's what I wanted out of that experience. That was straight and foremost. I wanted a mature buck. I wanted something that was going to challenge me, but not something that was going to ruin that experience by just needing to have X amount of inches on their
what do you
head.
want out of it? And I think that obviously that's why guys, not just the status aspect of it, but guys like to kill mature animals because it's harder and it's a challenge. And dude, absolutely, I think we should all focus on that. I think obviously there's the argument that it's healthier for the populations sometimes when you do that. Although I do think that. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to keep that one right in my pocket. Yeah. I'm not going to say that out loud. But it's what do you want out of it? What do you want out of it? I think that's really it.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, I think we're going to wrap this one up. Yep. I'm actually running out of room on this SD card, but we're actually going to record another episode that is going to be pushed down the line a little bit and come out a different time of the year. But Todd, I appreciate you coming on. Well, first of all, driving 4 hours one way,
buddy. I've done crazier shit for less important stuff. You know what I mean? So it's no big deal.
I appreciate that, and I want you to tell everybody where they can find out about you. They can find out about your training program, and everything else.
Yeah. So humanpredatorpackmule.com is the URL for the website. Instagram is @packmule training co. And my personal Instagram is @Todd_Bumgardner. On the website, there's a free field test that you can do that'll is a version of what we do for our assessments that'll tell you about where you're at in your hunting conditioning right now. So your strength, your conditioning, your mobility, all of that kind of stuff. Totally free. You can go download that and that'd be a great place to start.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. And I appreciate everyone listening as well.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with your buddies. Leave us a rating, a review, and subscribe. If you want to check out more content like this, there's plenty in the links below. We truly appreciate having you guys along with us.